I'm a very gentle man, even-tempered and good-natured, who you'll never hear complain, who has the milk of human kindness by the quart in every vein. A patient man am I, down to my fingertips, the sort who never could, ever would, let an insulting remark escape his lips.
Hello and welcome to Lamarr's Attacks, the only show on television that dares to confront the issues that don't matter. Let's see what's been happening in the news this week. Boyzone's Keith Duffy has spent £200,000 on John Merritt, the Elephant Man's hat. Leading historians have doubted its veracity, saying it may well have come from a looky-likey. Author J.K. Rowling let slip that the title of her next book will be Harry Potter Sniffing Glue. He's growing up and discovering life, particularly the joy of the Bostic tub. Hawk-eyed postman Barry Gifford was rewarded for his vigilance today when he spotted a credit card in an envelope. He celebrated by taking a few days off and going on a spending spree. Kitchen gimp Jamie Oliver this week refuted the fact that glass is made from sand. It can't be, he said. Yeah, right, sand. Jubbly, top notch. I think that's how he talks, I don't know. Archbishop George Carey was overheard in a pub to say, imagine if it was all true, you'd shit yourself, wouldn't you? Time for this week's Where Are They Now? Pepsi and Shirley. Where are they now? Question worth asking, isn't it? We had a painting sent in this week. This painting comes from 6-year-old Rebecca Hayes from Market Harbour. It's rubbish, isn't it? I didn't ask for it. You know what I mean? Look at that lawn. It's like as high as the front doors. Piece of crap that is. Here's a picture from a dead bloke. Look at that. That's fantastic. You see what I'm saying? Even a dead bloke's better than you. Bother. Anyway, more importantly than that, I was driving home from a gig the other day. I was in Reading and I got a bit hungry. I fancied some chicken. And normally I'd go into Kentucky Fried, but I saw this sign saying, the best chicken in town. And I thought, well, I can't pass that up. That's too good to be true. And it was quite an amazing shop, actually. It was run by a bloke whose real name was Kentucky. But fair enough, he didn't capitalise on his name. His shop was called Kentucky Fries Chicken. See what I'm saying? Present tense, not Kentucky Fried Chicken. He's implying it's fresh chicken going on in there. So anyway, I'm in the queue. There's this bloke in front of me, and he had this weird stance. He kept looking around. He kept doing that. You know, like Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. You know, the bit just before he goes on the killing spree. And he's a bit edgy because he's got to risk his life to rescue teen prostitute Jodie Foster from a violent pimp. It was like that. But this bloke, I was guessing from his surroundings, he had a slightly less dangerous task ahead. Because he kept looking at the menu and he had exact change, you know, so I guessed he was going to buy some chicken. And I was right, because the next thing he said, he went, chicken! But not please, not could I have. He just went, chicken! So Ken said very politely how many bits of chicken, and this bloke went, 4! Like Ken should have known. So Ken says, right, £3.64. But don't even say thanks. He just smashes down the change on the counter and storms out. But as he walked past, he gave him this cocky look like that. It was like, it sort of said to me, that, my friend, is how you buy chicken. It was quite reminiscent of the look that Yul Brynner gives at the end of Magnificent Seven, you know, when he's vanquished the banditos. But it had more of a sort of takeaway feel to it. And I understand this sort of attitude if possibly you're trading rubies with the triads or you're instigating a massive coke deal in the Bronx, you need a bit of bravado. But I've seen people doing this in sweet shops. Fizzy fishes, cola cubes, sweet peanuts. Do I look like a bitch? And don't treat me like a bitch. You know when you see really bad impressionists and they say, can you imagine Al Pacino in a greengrocer's? I don't have to imagine it, I've seen it. I've seen people going in going, hoo-ha, tangerines. And by the way, hoo-ha doesn't mean please. I don't understand how people are proud of their bad manners, proud of being rude and ignorant. People even get proud of their tempers. You know, you always hear people saying, you don't want to see me lose my temper. Of course I don't. Stupid thing to say. You don't want to see me first thing in the morning in a boob tube with a stopwatch, but I don't have to tell you that, do I? Don't be proud about losing control of a part of your body. It's like saying, oh, I'll tell you what, you don't want to go near my bladder. Don't give me dandelion tea, I'll be all over the place. I don't think the Incredible Hulk would have been such a popular character if his catchphrase was, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I piss me trousers. Already I'm dripping like a pensioner's nose. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been so popular, would it? Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, oh, well, there's a turn up for the books. Mark Lamarr talking about bad manners. But I actually do abhor rudeness. I'm not talking about sort of rudeness you might get on a pop quiz. That's rudeness for fun and money. That's acceptable rudeness. Winston Churchill was famous for being rude, but he was very funny at the same time. One of the most famous quotes ever is when he was drunk. I'm sure you've all heard this. And a woman came up to him and said, "Sir, you are drunk." And he said, "Madam, you are ugly. And in the morning, I shall be sober." That is a fantastically funny thing to say. But I don't believe he actually said that. Because have you ever met a drunk man? Drunk men don't talk like that, do they? Drunk man would say, "Madam, you are ugly, but I intend to keep drinking, so stick around, I'll try and chat you up later on. And in the morning, you shall still be ugly, and I shall still be drunk, and I shall still be trying to get off with you. Will you marry me? I'm an alcoholic. I'll be drunk for the rest of my life, you ugly old cow. Show us your knockers." Darren, come over here. There's an ugly bird going to show me her knockers. No, come back. No, she said she was going to show me her knockers. Oh, I've done it again, haven't I shouldn't mix me drinks. I'm the Prime Minister. See, that's the sort of chat you get from a drunk man. Anyway, I'm not talking about that kind of rudeness. I'm talking about bad manners for bad manners' sake. For some reason, certain professions attract rude people. Why are chefs always so irritable? What's so hard about being a chef? You need to take it out on everyone. You're only making me tea. Chefs go mad, don't they? You ask for ketchup with your steamed sea bass. "Oh, no, you can't have ketchup. Get out of my restaurant." No, I think you'll find the deal on this one is you make the dinner, I eat the dinner, stove puppet. The only reason chefs are pissed off is because they're sort of like your mums in a way, aren't they? They make you tea, but they don't have all the happy memories of you growing up. You know, grazing your knees and taking the stabilisers off your back. But you know what? I actually ate in that Gordon Ramsay's restaurant once, and afterwards I went up to him and I said, "Can I sleep with you tonight? I'm a bit scared." And do you know what he did? Side of him I wasn't expecting. He picked me up, he cradled me in his arms, carried me into the kitchens with him, and him and a load of trainee chefs kicked the shit out of me. Just like my old mum used to do. Chefs, I'll tell you what chefs should do. Chefs should take a leaf out of the butcher's book. You ever find a rude butcher? Butchers are the jolliest people in the country, because they know if there's another war, women will be dying asleep with them for a couple of lamb chops or a string of sausages. That's why I have that little model of them outside with their hands on their hips, their pelvis thrust forward and a big grin on their face. What they're saying there is, "Play your cards right, love, I'll tenderise your rump." To me, the ultimate rudeness is people being late. I can't stand people being late. And when people are late, they can't work out why you're angry. Because they say, "Oh, you know what I'm like? I'm always late." And they have to say, "Yeah, you know what I'm like? I'm always angry then!" Of course, sometimes being late's unavoidable. I remember once I was sitting on a plane from America, and the pilot said, "I'm sorry, we're going to have to circle the airport for another 20 minutes till the runway's clear." This woman next to me, she went, "For God's sake, that's all I need." What do you want him to say? "We haven't actually got a space in the landing pattern, ladies and gentlemen. This might be a bit dangerous, but f*** it, I'm going in." So there's a woman in seat 42C who's already booked her taxi. So everyone say your prayers, here we go. There's a big difference between our manners and Americans. People are much more polite in America, whatever you think, and I think there's a good reason for that. Guns. In America, when people say to you, "Have a nice day and enjoy your meal," they don't really mean that. They just don't want to get shot. And maybe that's just a drastic solution to rudeness. And I'm all for it. I don't think we should have guns on the streets of Britain. I'm not in any way condoning that, far from it. I'm suggesting we all carry stun guns. Not only carry stun guns, but bring in a law that says we're all allowed to use them once a year with no questions asked if someone's been rude to you. That seems fair enough. So the police might come along, you stood there with your stun gun, bloke on the floor doing all this. They go, "What's all this about, sir?" And you go, "He said something about my mum." Fair enough. Or, you know, maybe you put your name down for a song at the karaoke. Someone else jumps up and just does it before you have a chance to get there. You could do it then, use your stun gun. "Trailer for sale." Or that'd be a good time to do it. Or if you want to be spiteful, wait till the end of the song. "California, here I..." And that would be another way of getting around that. But imagine the change it would have on the country. Everyone would be polite all the time. Britain would become the charming place that it thinks it is. It'd be like My Fair Lady walking around the streets of London. At last, bin men can dance again. And if they don't, dance, bin man, dance! And even insults would be friendly. Can you imagine that little kid shouting out, "Oi, Baldy! You look fantastic!" And build elders would be shouting out, "Oi, love, get your tits out of the way of this ladder, you'll hurt yourself." All the annoying things in life will disappear. No one will be cutting up each other up in traffic. There'll be no jumping in queues. No one will be reading over your shoulder. That's my big thing. I hate people reading over my shoulder, especially during sex. That means I'm being buggered. Oi, don't join a library. And stop buggering me. And not in that order. My first guest is an expert on politeness. She even knows that if you're in a band, you must always let the other members sing, even if they patently can't. Mel B.
I've been listening to you. You're very funny.
Thank you
You're
very
right
much.
on it, aren't you, tonight?
Now, people think, I mean, I get it all the time, obviously, but people, because you're sort of so forthright and very Yorkshire, you're a very Yorkshire person, aren't you?
Well,
People think you're rude. And that's,
yeah. That's the way I was brought up, to express exactly what I think. And sometimes, you know, I don't think before I say it, and it just comes out, and it is considered, I suppose, out of place or a bit rude sometimes.
So what, can you think of any? Are there times when you've just thought, oh, God, I spoke a little bit too quickly there?
Loads. Loads. I think
we got
when
time.
we met, I can't tell you that one. Oh, no
Well,
way.
tell me who it
No.
was and I'll guess.
Prince Charles.
Prince Charles. Oh,
Yeah.
right, you said that he had a tiny little cock and he wouldn't touch the
No.
sides, didn't you? Well, if you don't tell me, I'm only going to make it worse with me guessing.
Something to do with farting and smells, and I think I said something, and it was just all a bit weird. Anyway.
But you have to admit, and this, everyone knows that about you, you have quite a loud voice. Have you ever been in, like, a moment, not with Prince Charles, but have you ever been in, like, some sort of loving, tender moment with a whispering in the ear bit? Yeah. I love you!
No, I'll tell you what I do.
Oh, right, yeah, I can imagine that.
Don't repeat it.
No, I'm not. It was just like the Parkinson emu moment for a second. I was just like... I think you put me slightly off my guard now.
Hey, I'm great, I tell you.
But you can get cream for that. Because I can't imagine you, piano.
I do quiet.
Go on then.
I do now and again.
Go on,
At
do it, go
home,
on.
yeah, out in the country, you know.
I'd like to see you on like a Badger Watch programme.
Wildlife.
A nocturnal one. You have to sit
Never
there
get
for
me
3
on
hours.
there,
Because I
no
know
way.
after 3 hours sitting there, there he is!
The thing is, right, I am a lover of life, and I think, so what? Why hold it back? Yeah. Let it out. Yeah.
I wasn't arguing with her. This isn't,
I'm just
this isn't question time,
clarifying it.
mate.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
clarifying
we should
it.
stop asking you questions. It's a chat show, pinhead. I don't ask questions.
Stop being rude.
You must... at school, then, what was, like, the worst situations you got into for perceived
Oh,
rudeness?
I just think I had the loudest laugh, and I was always the one with, like, the get-out clauses, the big excuses.
But when you laugh at school, it's almost always like the worst situation. And it's like, did you set fire to that outbuilding? He said outbuilding.
No, we did have a line-up at school. We made this boy, we said to him, if you show us yours, we'll show you ours. But obviously, we weren't going to show him
Yeah, I know.
So he did that, and then we all ran off laughing. So he went to the headmaster, and we all got told off and sent into this office. There's about 5 of us, and it was like, so why did you make poor so-and-so pull down his pants? And it was like, didn't we? We got into a lot of trouble. It was one of those situations.
You know what, like, even that happened now, it'll be worth the risk for me. Don't think she's going to, but I'm in. You must get often that, you know, I always think that when people think that people on TV are rude, for example, that's nothing compared with what people on TV get from the public.
Oh, I think sometimes public can be really rude to you, yeah. They can shout things and it can be quite embarrassing and, you know.
Because it would be wrong of me to not ask about what can only be referred to as a common punch-up recently, which I don't know any details about at all.
This girl swung for me, so I swung back and my mate battered her. So I didn't really know what to do with it. This girl wanted to just get me.
It will always be written about as your fault.
But it makes me look hard, so I don't quite mind it.
The thin girl in the band gets a really hard time from it.
The thin girl in the band, that's horrible.
Why is that horrible?
She's not.
She's not thin, or she's not a girl. No. She's not in the band anymore. She's not a thin girl.
No, I think all of us
thin.
individually, I'm not discussing that, all of us individually do get stick.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, no, but
and
she
some
gets...
more than others.
And I don't know her at all, but when I sort of see what the football fans chant, it must be horrific for her to have
I think she just laughs, so she does have to take it with a pinch of salt.
But so do you think that you're... you know, you do have some sort of reputation, which I don't really understand for being rude, because I've never actually heard you say a rude thing about anyone.
Oh, no.
You've maybe said things that there was the lips comment that you made to the thin girl.
Stop calling her thin girl.
I don't know what her name is.
Stop it, I'm defending my corner. She's not thin. Stop calling her thin.
Well, she is thin. Don't be silly.
She's a healthy girl who eats properly.
I'm not saying she's not.
But she's got a lot of, you know... Everybody's saying, it must do her head in, everybody's saying.
Yeah, but I've got a mate who's tall, and he wouldn't go, I'm not tall. I'm fine.
Anyway, your story was...
Well, it's not my story, but there was a documentary when she was getting dressed, and you were all being filmed, and you obviously knew you were being filmed. She had put some very tight trousers on, and you went, you can see your lips in there. Which, you can certainly see how people of an older generation would sort of go, hold on.
That's disgusting.
That is rude.
Yeah, but it's just helping your friend out. You don't want her to go on there with a VW. Tucked in right.
I've never even heard that phrase, but...
you know.
Yeah, no, I understand. A VW, that's broad.
No, it's not.
VVV. I've seen women like www.com.
No.
Moby, it's been a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over the years, I suppose people have noticed that my manners and deportment, in fact, my whole style of living, is second only to the late Princess Grace of Monaco. And for some reason, I often receive letters asking me how people should act in certain situations, etiquette letters. Now, obviously, I don't get time to reply to all of those, so let's just go through a few of them now, and I'll try and give out the best advice I have to offer. Here's one, for example. Dear Mark Lamarr, I live by the phrase, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But that's quite hard if you're just picking up some photos from Boots. How can I put something nice in? Well, what I say, if you're just going about your workaday business, just throw in a little compliment at the end of each request. Something like, could I have my photos now, cheeky pants? Can it? During a bank robbery, when is it considered correct to intimate that you have about your person a concealed firearm? Well, I've looked into this one, and among people that know about these things, it's deemed impolite to reveal a weapon until the last possible moment, or when it's generally considered by your associates that the blag's gone tits up. Dear Mark, again, a very common one. I think I'm falling in love with a Siamese twin. It happens. Of course, I'm desperate to try to chat her up. I don't want to be rude to her sister. Do you have any funny, kind comments I can make that will maybe endear me to the pair of them? I get this one 2-3 times a week. And the method I always use in these situations, believe me, it always works. Friendly little icebreaker. Try going up to the pair of them and saying, right, which one's good and which one's evil? Dear Mark, if you're forcing someone to dig their own grave and they find treasure, are you morally obliged to share it with them? Well, common courtesy dictates yes, but only briefly. Dear Mark, it's quite strange on this one. I love fire. Who doesn't? I love to see flames rising higher and higher, licking up into the sky, consuming everything in their path. The heat, the power, the unquenchable force of destruction. Ha 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 ha! It actually does say, look, it does say, ha ha ha. Maybe not as many, but it does say it. And then to roam amongst the cinders of devastation I have wrought, for I am the Lord of the Inferno. However, manners cost nothing, so is there a polite way to commit arson? In answer to this one, I always refer to a passage in the Bible, particularly the parable of Jesus and the letters from the nutter. I think we'll remember Jesus' thoughts on the subject when he said, Peter, I have a question for thee. How did this loony get my address? You're supposed to keep people like this away from me. Simon, have you seen this? You know that bloke used to send us the turds in the box? This bloke's worse. Mental case. And finally, dear Mark, this one would probably apply to a lot of people. A work associate of mine has rampant oppressive body odour. And of course, I feel I must tell them. However, I don't want to be impolite and I don't want our work relationship to suffer. How do I get round this tricky minefield of manners? I get this one quite a lot. And of course, the answer is you must tell your work associate he stinks. But of course, it can't come from you. That would ruin the relationship. Very easy way around this. Take them quietly to one side and politely say to them, my friend thinks you stink. How rude of my friend to think that. I have no opinion on the matter. Goodbye. Who's the victim? My second guest is known as one of the rudest men in Britain, but whatever you think of him, in my opinion, also one of the funniest. Bernard Manning, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think that with you and what you do on stage, people can't differentiate the sort of the act and the human being behind it? Because there's such a long history of, like, rude comics.
Well, we call acts, aren't you? And what I do on a stage is an act. I mean, I was born in the roughest part in Manchester, and Coates. You won't believe that, would you? And,
we thought you grew up on
we
the
used to
estate with
sleep
pheasants.
6 in a bed. 5 of them used to piss themselves. I learned to swim before I could f***ing walk, mate. My dad used to say, where do you want to sleep? I said, a f***ing shallow end. There were hard times, and my mother, 95 when she died, wonderful woman, fetched 7 of us up in the 30s, and she was 95 when she died, and I used to carry her down the stairs to make me breakfast. How many fellas would do that?
As far as rudeness goes, I mean, one thing that people probably don't know is that I read somewhere that you never swore in front of your mum.
No, never swore in front. I don't swear in front of children, and I don't swear in front of my mum. I mean, I've got.
But she must have seen your act at some point.
Yeah, but she's deaf.
Oh, right. It's not just swearing, and I think people know that I have no problem with anyone swearing at any point. But you know, you've got this great reputation for sort of a lot of the put-downs you've done about virtually every comic you've ever seen. Yeah,
well, most of them's not funny, are they? I mean, what can say Michael Barrymore? What can he do? He can't sing, he can't dance. What can he do? I phoned him up this morning. Cliff Richard answered. What's going on?
I don't even know what's going on. But there must have been comics when you were starting out that were just like, who were your heroes?
Comics? Well, in my days, it was George Formby.
I can't see the link between his style and yours.
Well, if they cross
Turned out shite again. No, but was he like a hero of yours? Because I can see, like, W.C. Fields. But like W.C. Fields, who was like the most fantastic curmudgeon of that period.
W.C. Fields was magic. First thing I do when I get up in the morning is smile. Get it over with. Absolute magic.
See, I've never heard you say kind words about any other comic. I've only ever heard you sort of singing into Tarbuck or whatever.
The talented ones I would do. Now, Jimmy Tarbuck's about as funny as a burning orphanage. I mean, you can't learn this business on the golf course, can you?
A few years ago, I heard a story about you, and I think it is the funniest thing I've ever heard. It just sums you up completely. Mick Miller told me. Do you remember Mick Miller, the old monk-looking comic?
Very funny man.
He's a funny man. And Mick Miller told me that he'd been doing a summer season in Jersey, and you were coming over to do one gig. And he said, he rang you up saying, Bernard, I've been here for a few months now. I know the island like the back of my hand. I'll pick you up. I'll drive you around the island, a lovely restaurant on the other side of the island. We'll have a drink. I've got this lovely hire car. I'll show you around the sites, and then I'll drive you to the gig. Okay. He said, then what you did was you said, I'll tell you what we'll do. You get up, drive yourself round the island, buy yourself dinner, drink on your own, and I'll sit here watching the racing. Now, f*** off. I just slammed the phone down.
I did.
Have you always been like that? Because it must be very hard starting out. If you've got that act and you've got that sort of sensibility towards other comics, you have to go better than them or you have no act. So
I go better than them, don't worry about it.
Yeah, but did you, when you were starting out?
I go from Land's End to John O'Groats with my act. I had my club for 40 years. It's a great place, 40 years. We've seen them all come and go at the Embassy Club. Vince Hill, Matt Monroe, the Beatles, 14 quid.
I'd start
Freddie
with the
and the
Beatles.
Dreamers.
I ain't so much name dropping with Vince Hill and Matt Monro. Not in front of this lot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we've had Vince Hill in.
Oh, well, these are people you paid silly money to. £14 a night for the Beatles, £7 a night, Freddie and the Dreamers. Jimmy Tarbuck, £5 a night. And I still give him a fiver because he's doing the same f***ing act.
It's like a temple of insult, the embassy, isn't
Yeah,
it?
well, you fetch your own crowd. I do theatres, I do television. I've done Las Vegas, London Palladium, Royal Command performances. Even on the Royal Command performance, I did a Storm. And there was some American comics on there, Larry Grayson as well. And
You weren't sharing a dress room with Larry Grayson, were you? I just can't imagine that scene.
That's one thing I couldn't be, queer. I couldn't
Here we
stand
go.
I couldn't stand fellas refusing me as well as women.
He pulled it back!
But he
It's
said...
an anti-Vernon joke in the end.
That's what it's all about.
Do people ever... Well, no, they do, but people must take offence at, often when you're sort of having a go at someone in the audience repeatedly. And I think it's natural for most comics of that style to not quite know when to stop, and sometimes people take offence. What's happened along those lines?
Well, they take offence, and I don't give a f***. If everybody thought that way, don't worry about a thing, don't worry. If you owe a few £1,000, f*** them, let them wait. Now they can do about it, the jails are full. Never refuse to pay. Never refuse to pay. Write them a letter. When I've got it, you'll get it. Bollocks. And you'll find you'll go through life not taking drugs, not taking tablets, not blowing your brains out.
But with your knees broken on a regular basis. Did you learn etiquette when you were a kid? Did you learn all that sort of no elbows on the table, no hands in the pockets, all of that sort of...
Father wouldn't allow that. No elbows on the table.
What? Do you know why that
always
is?
in time for the dinner.
No joke, I've never understood why that's such a bad thing, having your elbows on the table.
Well, you can't get in your f***ing mouth with a knife and fork.
Yeah, look.
You're supposed to be there to eat. You don't eat like that. Who eats like that? You get feet over it and you get stuck in like that.
Now I understand. That's why you're so fat, Bernard.
You're learning the northern.
You see,
Do a lot for charity. They have sponsored walk round me.
I'm hardly capable.
I don't mind being fat. I'm 70 years of age. You never seen the inside of hospital. Shows you how bad my eyes are, doesn't it? There you are, you see. That's a clean joke, you see. That's a clean joke. Yeah, you've got to go a bit stronger these days.
Go on, then.
2 girls on the cash out at Tesco's once said, you can always tell the married fellas from the single fellas. She said, how do you do that? She said, what's this? A fella come up, he said, 1 mushroom, 1 tomato, 1 slice of bacon, and a tin of beans. She said, a single fella, you aren't you? He said, how do you know that? She said, you're a right ugly c***. Now that is a funny story.
It is. And do we want to live in a world where that can't happen? I don't think so. Bernard Manning, thank you very much for
All the best.
So what have we learned about rudeness? Well, it's obvious that good manners are a vital tool for maintaining social harmony. If we don't have good manners, there's nothing to separate us from the beasts. Well, there's the fur and the claws, obviously. Language. Extension cables. Techno. Varnish. Loads of things, really, isn't there? Step ladders. Cagney and Lacey. Frisps. Pickle. I think I made my point. As Jerry Springer says after he spent an hour encouraging rednecks to slap each other silly, take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.